Einstein said that if you can't explain it simply, then you don't know it well enough. Now, we as watch enthusiasts are a part of a very interesting club, and welcome to the club if you are new here. If we aren't party to arguments, debates, or drama, the majority of the time we hear talk about buying and selling watches. There is talk about the watches that we like and what we dislike. Influencers on this platform tell you to go one way and buy what is capable of holding its value, while others tell you that you shouldn't take the advice and buy what you like, no matter the cost. I hope I'm not the only one who finds it all jarring. So I had a thought, a strange idea. Let's break the mold. The reality is that in the watch game, there are a lot of options to choose from, a lot of opportunities, and it is daunting if you are new, or even if you are experienced when buying watches. So I want to keep it basic, but informative. I'm not going to tell you what to do or what to choose, or give you juxtapositions to wrap your head around, but I will provide you with a tool, a formula following a step-by-step process of elimination that could be beneficial for you in the future, providing you with a narrower vision that might help you hone down your thinking when it comes to the many different watch criterias. These steps consist of 4 words: define, discover, distinguish, and determine. The 4 Ds. After answering every question, you need to substantiate your answer with why for each of them. And this might work better if you have a pen and paper handy. So let's get into it. The first step, define. This step is about working out who you are. And by that I mean, what kind of watch person are you? What watch interests you? And when you break it down to the fundamentals, there are only 2 groups to choose from: sports watches or dress watches. So deciding on one of these categories is hard enough to do, but really think about it. For example, ask yourself, how do you wear your watches? Are you someone who wants to wear it 24/7, use it in the water and while exercising? What does your work entail? Do you wear a suit on a daily basis? Do you prefer a slim profile of a watch or something with a bit more substance? Are you interested in something more flashy or something more understated? When you have an answer to these questions, and I hope a few more that you have pulled together, substantiate your answer with why for each of them. Give a concrete reason why you answered these determining points about who you are and what watch best suits you. Step 2. Discover. This step is about working out what category of watch you prefer. If we break the categories down, you again have 2 fundamentals: simple or complicated watches. And these have tiers, which I have loosely worked out into 4 tiers. So what tier of watch complication suits you? Tier 1. Are you the kind of person who likes a clean, symmetrical dial with just the time on display? Would you need a date on the watch? Would you like a bezel on the watch to help you count down time? These elements fall into the realms of a simple watch. Complicated watches begin to have other features to them. Tier 2. Would you like a chronograph function that lets you use the watch as a stopwatch? This could be useful every day if your work or your hobbies take over an hour to complete. Or would you like a GMT, a complication that lets you follow more than one time zone if you are someone who travels a lot or makes international phone calls? Finally, would you prefer that your watch tells you the day and the date, something relatively simple but useful on a daily basis? After this point, the complications evolve to a different level. Are you someone who wants the watch to tell you the day, date, and month of the year, maybe the moon phase? Now you are looking at annual and perpetual calendars. These pieces can basically be considered as daily essentials for somebody who only wears one watch. How about a watch that can tell you the time on every continent in the world? That is a world time, a phenomenal complication. And the final group of complications, Tier 4. Are you someone who really enjoys the art of watchmaking more than most? Someone who wants to see the mechanical components, like the balance wheel, working in all its glory? Then a tourbillon might be on the cards for you. And for an added bonus, would you like your watch to chime the minutes and hours, harkening back to traditional pocket watches? Then a minute repeater might suit you. All of these tiers vary greatly in value and price, so think long and hard about this. And after working out an answer to what tier you would prefer, again, substantiate your answer with why. Hone in on what you will be using this watch for. Do you want it just for the sake of telling time? Would you want it as more of a tool to help you with your day-to-day life? Or are you wanting the watch to resemble something more akin to artwork on your wrist? Substantiate why this tier of watch is ideal for you. Step 3. Distinguish. This step is about deciding on where you are looking. What echelon of watch suits you? By that I mean, what watch could you get within the price that you have in mind to spend? After taking the answers of the above two questions, now you need to research into brands that could fulfill these categories for you. So for this example, that I hope is easy to visualize, I will hone in on two companies. One that focuses on sports watches and another that focuses on dress watches. Rolex, the bread and butter, and one of the most recognized brands in the world, and Jaeger-LeCoultre, known as the watchmaker's watchmaker because of their past. Rolex's current line creates watches that fall into the first two tiers of complications, and they focus on sports watches. They create extremely simple pieces like the Explorer and the No-Date Submariner and the Datejust. These could serve you well every day if you prefer to have a watch built to take a beating. And then stepping up to the second tier, they offer the likes of a GMT and a Daytona, as well as a Day-Date. These pieces are still capable of being used every day, but now with added functions that place them a bit ahead of the first tier watches. Jaeger-LeCoultre, or JLC, is a master watchmaker, creating pieces that fulfill all four tiers of complications, while focusing on dress watches. They create simple pieces like the Master Control, the Polaris, and the Classic Reverso. These pieces all work as everyday watches, some with dates and some without. As we move further up the tiers, now we see the Master Chronograph and the Memovox, and the Master Ultra Thin Moon. These are more tailored pieces. And finally, we see the likes of the Master Ultra Thin Perpetual Calendar and the likes of the Reverso with a tourbillon movement. So from the above, these two brands offer so much variety, and that is why it is important, and I must stress that you need to do your homework for this exercise. You need to determine the price of the watch, find the brand that you want, find the type of watch, and the tier of complication that works for you. And finally, study up on it on platforms like this, or read blogs or articles about it. This part is not a race. Step 4. Determine. Probably one of the most difficult parts of the process. Substantiating what makes you enjoy the piece you have selected. Now this is the home run. Following all of the above information, you have found a watch. But what really makes it work for you? Don't just look at the color and the spec sheet. I mean, what really gives this watch an edge over the others? Does it remind you of something? Does it signify anything important? Is it a watch that you have lusted after for years? Is the design something that you would never be bored of? Is it too simple? Is it too complicated? Really spend time determining what makes this specific watch sing to you. And then go out and try it on. If it fits, if it is beyond your expectations and feels as good in the flesh as the final thought process was, then you have yourself a winner. And that is it. Define, discover, distinguish, and determine. These, I believe, are 4 steps that anyone could use to help guide them through the process of choosing a watch. Of course, it is not bulletproof, but I would like to think that it will help many of us when it comes down to debating on what watch works for us. We are all different, and to cater to that, there is a huge industry of watches to choose from. So go wild and have fun.